And welcome to CatchMark SportsNet West Michigan 2022 football preview show. We're all here assembled. I'm Jon Russell. We got Mike Taylor. We got VanSingel, and then we have the great Scott DeCamp, our fearless leader here, or fearful leader, however you look at it.
A little bit of both, I think. More of the latter, I think.
Sleepless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What we're going to do here, folks, is preview the West Michigan Conference season coming up here, and I'm going to defer to Scott to kind of talk about our philosophy a little bit on our coverage for sports on CatchMark SportsNet.
Yeah, we cover the West Michigan Conference. That's the area we're putting most of our energies. That's not to say we don't want to cover the other communities, the other schools around Muskegon County and beyond. We do. We're just not in a spot yet where we're ready to do that yet. So we want to do a bang up job with the West Michigan Conference and cover it from top to bottom and be one of the authorities on it.
And we're looking forward to a great year with that. All right, so without further ado, as we say, for the next hour, we're going to go through this. And let's start out with one of the new teams in the West Michigan Lakes Conference. By the way, I guess we should say it's been divided into two different 7-team divisions, right, Scott?
Correct. There's the lakes and the rivers. And I was talking to Tim Jensen for a series I did this summer on West Michigan Conference expansion, and I go, where'd that come from? They said, the ADs just agreed that those would be apt descriptors just because of being in Michigan with all the lakes and the rivers and everything, and
Sure.
I'm being closest to bodies of water, and and lakes are bigger than rivers. I know that Cal's made that. That's right, isn't it, Cal? You're the fisherman. You know that?
Yeah, that's why I thought they called it lakes and rivers. Bigger conference would be a lake.
Yeah.
And the smaller one would be rivers. How about the pond?
The streams.
That'd be like the really small
The
schools.
streams in here.
The puddles? Is there a puddles division?
The puddles of it. Maybe if this thing grows. You never know, right?
Nickname, the
Yeah.
puddles.
All right. Without further ado, here before we get too crazy, let's talk about the West Michigan Conference Lakes Division. Let's start out again with one of the newer teams, the Fremont Packers. New coach, new expectations. Talk to us about that, if you would, Scott.
Yeah, Jared Hudson. He was most recently the AD at Holton. He cut his teeth as a head coach at the age of 24 at Coopersville. He was there 4 seasons, I believe. And he kind of stepped away from coaching. I think he might have been an assistant. I'm not quite sure on that. But he took over as AD at Holton, did a nice job there, and went back to his alma mater, Fremont. He's a 2006 Fremont alumnus.
Mike, he played for you, correct?
Yeah, he was a student athlete over there for us. Great person. I see no problem for him going in there and getting the kids' attention and them wanting to play for him. He has an infectious personality, and I just hope everybody backs him.
Yeah.
The administration, it's tough because you see so many changing in the guard now for kids in high school.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing for a kid, a young high schooler, to go through school and have 2 or 3 head coaches during their time there.
Right. And obviously he's overcome your coaching. I think the blinking and twitching has finally
what we
stopped.
taught him, yes, he is become successful.
That's right. And that's the ultimate goal here. Cal, what are your thoughts?
For head coach, that was Dan Rome. So I'm sure he learned a lot of things along the way. Also, I'm sure Dan's only a phone call away. If he, runs into something, how do I handle this? Give a quick call to Dan. Or he played at Hope. So I'm sure he has connections over there at Hope College also.
And in coaching, coaching Coopersville in the OK Blue, that's not an easy league. So you're going to get tested a lot there as a young coach.
Sure. They were 1-8 last year, 1-6 in the Central State Activities Association, the Gold Division, and they just have not had a lot of success, really, quite frankly, since Dan kind of left there. So it's been rebuilding. It's been coach after coach, and it's awful tough to get any traction. Let's talk about some of the kids. I know they have some reason for hope. They got Justin Gerheimer, senior running back, linebacker, 1,000-yard rusher last year in a tough year. So they got him to count on a little bit.
Yep, and they got Michael Romero, linebacker. He's a kid that, as we got results throughout the season last year, constantly saw his name at or near the top of the tackles list. I saw him immediately, a good-looking prospect.
Also got 4 linemen coming back. That's really going to help up front.
Right. Yeah, you got to start up there. Mike, your thoughts?
Again, big key I see right now is Gerheimer.
Yeah.
You have somebody coming back with his background and the success he's had so far in his football career. That's going to be somebody that Coach Hudson wants to really lean on and make sure he utilizes him properly. So, before we go any farther here with the Fremont thing, I want to make sure we acknowledge and recognize the superintendent who used to be a former coach over there, Kenny Haggard.
Right.
You know, Kenny's going through a real rough time right now, and I just want people out there to give him a few prayers and keep him in your thoughts.
Good friend of all of ours.
Just a tremendous, he's been a football coach over there down at Holton. He's from the UP. But, to see a guy who's given so much of himself to the community, the kids, and going through a tough time, please keep him in your thoughts.
You betcha. Thoughts and prayers.
Good point.
They were going to open up their season, at Hart, then Beaverton and Ludington, and then at Grant, their first 4 games of the season. We'll move on now to another new team. And
where is Beaverton?
Beaverton is next to
Down
Davington.
from Otterville.
Down from
There you go.
that's
better than mine.
I thought I heard that one time.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Another team that in this Lakes division, the Ludington Orioles, they used to years ago team up with Fremont in the old Seaway Conference. So kind of a little bit of a reuniting of rivalries there, maybe. Charlie Gunsel, 19th season as the head coach. They were 3-6 overall last year in the now defunct Lakes 8, tied for second.
Yeah, Gunsel, he coached Gerald Ford.
Did he?
He's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's been there for a while. Huh?
Yeah.
And Ludington's had some success in the past. Didn't necessarily translate last year. But what are you hearing from the Orioles, Scott?
They're really excited about their skill players. That starts with Trey Ferfinski, senior, about 5'11", 200 pounds-ish. He's coming off a knee injury, but I know 2 years ago as a sophomore, he was a dynamic player in the Lakes 8, one of the big playmakers in that league, and I think we can expect him to be one of those big playmakers over in this league as well. So you got him, you got the Gilchrist twins, you got Levi Lehman, another experienced guy who was a tight end linebacker type. So you got some nice pieces to build around.
Just like they got one offensive lineman coming back, maybe a couple others there that aren't mentioned, but they have 4 linemen that are newcomers to watch. So hopefully they can fit in and stay healthy. Offensive lines kind of all starts up front.
Tell you what, it's that you look at the schedule makeup for them. Ludington's never seen a schedule like this before.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be interesting for them. And the other thing I like about it is we talk about rivalry games.
Right.
And I, from growing up, and we always played back in the day, your biggest rivalry game was your last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I like seeing them play Mason County Central in week 9. I think that's great for the schools and the communities. They're so close up there geographically. So,
sure, exactly.
But I tell you, that's the schedule's going to be interesting from Coach Gunzel.
Yeah.
Working his way through that one.
They're going to start out on August 25th at Petoskey. They're on the road, the first 4 games of the season, I believe, something like that. Mm-hmm. At Petoskey, at Shelby, at Fremont, and at Oak Ridge. So they don't get home cooking for a while. Wonder if that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, that's a tough way to start it, but
And Petoskey's not winnable. I mean, they're going to have to battle. Petoskey's going to be decent this year. So it's going to be a tough week 1 for them.
Want to step in here and announce our sponsors. Van Dyke Mortgage, been with us for a long time. We certainly appreciate them, as we do all of our sponsors. Foundation Systems of Michigan, Durga Insurance, Chris Dykema, and Sarah Reel, Green Ridge Realty, and North Grove Brewers as well. So we want to thank those folks. Couldn't do this without them. Barely can do it with them. Somebody could do it. We certainly couldn't do it. We certainly couldn't do it long.
Real short time.
The clock's winding down, folks.
Yeah.
All right.
Get your shots in now, guys.
There you go.
Kick us while we're down, folks.
Hey, let's move on to the Manistee Chippewas. Head coach Troy Byte worked 6th season as head coach over at Manistee. Interesting year last year. They were 5-5, 1-2, and they were the team, if I'm not mistaken. No. I think I got them. Are they the team that played the hybrid schedule?
No, it was Mason County Central did last year.
Sorry about that. See, we actually include our own mistakes so that that Scott can correct.
We're human. We are human, believe it or not.
Yeah,
we create problems for ourselves.
That's right.
We seem like cyborgs, but we are human. We do make mistakes.
Sure. But talk to us a little bit about this Manistee Chippewa team.
So, coming off a 5-5 season, here's an interesting thing that I don't know if a lot of people have noticed. And again, when I was doing this West Michigan Conference expansion series, you're looking at, we did a chart on the enrollments of each divisional team.
Right.
And actually, Hart has more students this year than Manistee. So technically, Hart could have, would have, should have been in the bigger division, but they already had this set before the 2022-23 enrollments came out. So Manistee has fewer students than Hart, but Manistee will be competing in the Lakes division, the big division.
Yeah.
Now, I guess this is just a question. When we talk about that, is this subject to change yearly, or is this going to be a 5-year plan, or what?
I'm hearing every, like, maybe 3 years, 2-3 years, they're going to revisit, they're going to reevaluate, maybe shuffle some teams, make some adjustments, those kinds of things.
Well, and every year go up and down.
Well, look at the OK Conference. They're switching divisions all the time over there.
Right.
They're on a 2-year.
Is that what it is?
The OK. Well, they were on a 2-year.
Okay, the OK Conferences, yeah.
Calvin, anything to... We didn't mention Kaden Van Sickle. He's kind of the big guy up front. Got an offer from Michigan Tech, so he's not only a fine athlete, but he's got to be able to know something there a little bit, right?
Yeah, you take a look at their schedule. The first 2 are winnable for them if they come out and play well. Then they hit kind of Oak Ridge. There'll be a battle for them. OV's going to come up after that. And then you got Whitehall. So they could be 500 towards the middle of the season if things work out for them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and they returned 7 starters, on offense, which is always a real good thing, and 6 on defense. So they got the nucleus of both sides of the ball back.
One thing I'll say about Manistee, too, and we're tipping our hand a little bit, but we're scheduled at this point of recording to launch our Game of the Week series there at Manistee when they host Holton week 1 on Friday, August 26th. So we're excited to go up there and showcase those schools, those communities. I know they're excited about it. And, there's schools that maybe haven't got the chance to be showcased as much. So that'll be cool to go up there and kind of highlight those teams.
And two of the new schools in the West Michigan Conference. So it's kind of a little indoctrination there a little bit.
Correct, yeah.
I remember when we were coaching at Fremont, we went up and played Manistee.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting football field up there. It's nice football.
Did they get you out of the casino long enough, Mike?
Yeah, I got there at halftime, and it was a tight game, so I pulled us through.
See, Mike doesn't even need his headset. He's got these.
He just reads lips.
Ears.
That's right.
I didn't even put mine on at the beginning either. That shows you how much I know what I'm doing here.
Well, we're reading lips. That's what we're doing here. Let's talk about the Montague Wildcats. One of the tri-champions last year in the West Michigan Conference. Justin Dennett now in his second season. They were 8-4 overall, 5-1 in the West Michigan Conference. And boy, what a difference! At least I got to think comfort level wise for Justin. I mean, you're coming back. You're taking over a team, or you're taking over a team that's won a state championship. There's no place to go. I mean, you're not going to go up from that, right?
Yeah.
The best you can do is maintain.
And that was first year head coach, then taking that over. I mean, a lot of pressure. I thought they did a good job, and everybody's. Mostly him is more acclimated now to Montague and everything that they're doing there. So they lost some key players. So they lost Hayden McDonald's, one of the big ones. They lost a few skill players, but they got a really nice nucleus back of including kids who were on that state championship team who either started or played key roles.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, I wrote it down 3 times, but it's all the same word, speed.
Yeah.
They have a lot of it. And Justin Dennett also put 2 trophies in the trophy case. So it's not like he came in and laid an egg.
Right.
Conference title, co-conference title, and then
district champ.
title.
Yeah.
So kind of helped them to keep on going.
Well, it's amazing. Wyatt Ford, their former kicker, he's back on the coaching staff. And Joe Marsh. So they seem to get their former players back.
Yeah, the guys come back too.
Yeah, they come back, get involved. But, you got a guy like Brassfield out there running around leading the defense, and he's just a hitting machine.
Yeah, he was something when he first came up as just an underclassman. I mean, he started right out putting hits on people. I know we talked about him a lot.
Yeah, a couple years ago when they were on their state title run, I did some different stories on him. I showed up and I think I was interviewing him, and I had met him before, and this kid comes up with a full beard. I'm like, what's this coach's name again?
Yeah.
And it was a sophomore, Rodney Brassfield.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah, he's got 3 kids with him that are his, and
yeah.
it's
And you know what? They do have some folks that have some championship pedigree. I mean, you got Isaac Jarka, who is a part of a state championship team, a great defensive back, receiver. A little bit of a down year compared to his first year, but I think injury certainly played into that. And I know injuries played into the other guy, Owen Peterson. I mean, when he's healthy, and he certainly is a handful. He missed a good portion of the season last year, but hopefully everything will go well this year.
When you see a young man like Jarka there, and had an opportunity to talk to his father and everything, but when you see a cornerback, out there on the edge, and he's defending one of the best skilled players the other team has. Right. Well, when you see he's a 10th grader, you're going to go at him. Yeah. You're going to go right at him because he's a 10th grader. Sure. And when we look at the year he had as a 10th grader, it was because they signaled him out offensively and said, we're going to pick on this young kid. Sure. Well, he responded very well. Now, looking at his junior year, again, a nickel and dime injuries here and there, and they didn't go at him as much. Right. They went at the other cornerback. So, your opportunities for success are fewer. But I look for him to have, come out again this year. And it's nice when you can make the football game a 10-on-10. Yeah. Okay, because that cornerback can lock that guy down, and that kind of takes care of that side of the field. Sure. So it's a tribute to Isaac, that he's able to play ball at that level. New quarterback this year in Chase Gowell. Great athlete. Senior comes in as a quarterback, like you said, comes from a good family. So. Great athlete. Yeah, Dad was a college quarterback, and a college athlete. His grandpa, the bloodline's phenomenal, but Chase is a multi-sport athlete, does a great job. The big thing with him is, he played a little slot back last year, wide receiver, played a lot on defense. Now he's just got to learn how to, command the position of quarterback. Right. Take control of that, lead that team from a quarterback position, make good decisions. Hopefully they walk him through games 1, 2, and 3 and, make his throwing selections a little easier for him, cutting down on the reads and things like that. Yeah.
Looking at the linemen, they got some good linemen coming back. You see their Jancic, Booth, Greiner. They got junior coming up, Winkelman. He might have been there last year, I think, maybe, possibly. But, Mike, the Silas Jancic, kind of a strong kid. Yeah. Emphasis on strong, big lifter.
Just unbelievable.
Did you say benching over 400 pounds or something like that?
Yeah, 415 he did. That's right up there in the top 3, I think, nationally. And again, we're talking about a young man that's, 5'10", 5'11".
And that kid, I watched him in track season. He was a thrower and a sprinter. I mean, he ran the sprints as well. And he's just all rocked up, as they say.
Yeah. Well, not to brag, but every time I stand up, I lift 400 pounds.
So
always bragging.
A guy who's built a little bit differently for Montague is Isaiah Atchison. Okay. He's the guy we got to mention. He's not, the compact type. He's all arms and legs. He's about 6'7", 6'8", but he runs really well too. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be a great receiving target for them.
I'll tell you what, he's a phenomenal basketball player, which means he's a multi-sport athlete. I give him a lot of credit because you look at a young man who's 6'7" and knows there's such an upside in basketball, who steps out on that football field, and knows it's a collision sport. Yeah. But when you look at the matchup problems he brings to the table for opposing teams, and it's going to be interesting to see how that coaching staff, uses him. Yeah. And we talked about the multiple weapons here with Jarka. You throw Peterson in the mix, Atchison. I mean, it's like, who do you cover? Especially at the high school level where they're not necessarily geared towards covering multi-receivers. Yeah, and Adam Baird is running back for him this year. Right. He's gonna open some people's eyes. Sure. Mm-hmm. They're going to open with a tough one at Spring Lake. That's going to be a good one. Then they're at Ravana. They're taking on Orchard View, their home opener. And then September 16th, I know that's circled on a lot of calendars. They're at Whitehall.
At Whitehall for a second straight year. They played at Whitehall last year, and Whitehall got them last year, finally got the bell back from them after Montague had basically owned that thing for a good stretch there. But, yeah, that's always a big one, week 4 this year.
Exactly. They got a tough schedule.
Yeah, they really do. Like I said, you start out with Spring Lake. Ravana, I mean, who's, how are you going to pick that the second? You never know.
They're fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Orchard View, we'll talk about them in a little bit, just getting the program back. But you're absolutely right. How about the Oak Ridge Eagles, another one of the tri-champions from last year? Congratulations, first of all, to Coach Harger into the Coaches Hall of Fame. Well-earned, 12th season for him. Boy, 12 seasons. Where did the time fly, huh? it's something for him. But talk to us about these Eagles here, Scott.
Yeah, everyone knows Oak Ridge is the model of consistency. Between them and Montague in recent years, they both kind of dominated the league, but Oak Ridge has been just there for so many years.
Right.
Starting with obviously Jack Sugars and then now carried through by Kerry Arger. So, they're just always in the mix. You can never count them out.
Yeah. And you mentioned, Mike, about the guys that come back and give back to the program. Oak Ridge, look at his coaching staff. A lot of former Eagles right up and down the line, and guys that have been there through Jack's time as well.
Right. And the one thing I've noticed about Oak Ridge too is it's so tough as a coaching staff to find coaches who are in the building.
Yeah.
Okay. And Oak Ridge seems to come up with coaches who are plugged in the system and in that building with those kids all day. And that's a big difference. That's a game changer.
Sure.
For the last 44 years, they've had 2 coaches. 44 years, you've had 2 coaches. That a thing that I always like to watch is special teams. And Oak Ridge is always fundamentally sound on their special teams.
And they have some, again, talent. I like the quarterback, Matt Dan. He's not just a quarterback. He's a multiple position player. He's going to be a punter for him, defensive back, coach's kid. And this kid, saw him last year. He can throw the ball a mile. He's got a strong arm. I think the thing last year was, is there anybody who's going to be able to run under it a little bit? And it depends how the receivers kind of pan out this year. He's a fun guy to watch if he has the receivers or the horses and go after the ball.
Yeah, and he's a really strong kid. He's a kid who gets after it in the weight room. I've witnessed that myself, stopping in there this summer to, maybe do a story on them. And he's, I think, pound for pound or maybe even straight up strongest kid on the team.
Here's my question for you guys. Give me a prediction. Who the next West Michigan Conference football team to get a turf stadium?
Wow.
Whitehall.
Will
I'd
it be
say
Whitehall or Montague?
For sure. Whitehall.
Yeah.
They got the money
Whitehall.
behind them. They have all the businesses coming up the main drag out here.
Well, when you think about it, how many West Michigan Conference teams do play on turf?
Right.
Well, Oak Ridge and now Holton, but
Ravana?
Oak Ridge, Ravana doesn't have turf.
They're not turf?
No, who is it?
I guess it's just Oak Ridge.
Just Oak Ridge and Holton now, right? Because Holton coming in, Holton has a beautiful facility too.
Yeah.
But
I would bet within 3 to 5 years, Whitehall has turf.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. All right, mark it down.
are you contributing to that fund, by the way?
Well,
I might wait if I find the right house on that site.
you need to find a job first.
Job on Tuesday, fired on Thursday.
Yeah, there you
That's-
go. Well, hey,
Life comes at you fast.
yeah, it does. Talk to us, Scott, about, we mentioned Danachek, but some of the other names that we're going to hear a lot about this year.
Trevor Jones is a kid who impressed me last year as a sophomore running back. He's a junior now. Ran with a physicality, played with a physicality. I'm going to kind of steal maybe some of Cal's thunder, so I'm sorry, Cal. But the linemen, because Cal likes to talk about the linemen. You've got Riley Bean, Gage Lowry. Those are kind of the guys leading the way up front. Aiden Rios. You got Evan Josa.
Another
Ethan Josa, who
Yeah.
last year, really shined last couple years for them. And
Right.
and he's at Hillsdale now, but he's actually rooming with Montague's Hayden McDonald.
Is it really?
Josa
Oh.
is so.
Oh, good for him.
So that's
That is
kind of
good.
that's kind of a cool thing,
Yeah.
that West Michigan Conference connection. But yeah, they've got Oak Ridge just kind of they reload a lot of times, I think.
Right. And they're going to start their season, always tough Sparta. They're at home against Sparta. Then they got Muskegon Catholic and Manistee, and then Ludington to round out the first 4 games. Let's move on to Orchard View. The Orchard View Cardinals, coached by Fred Rademacher, his 4th season. Boy, Fred got into his first year, and all of a sudden he was opening eyes. I think they're 9-0. I know we did a couple of their games, and we're thinking, wow, they ran that wing tee, and it was. I don't want to say it was shades of Shillito, but it was as well run since Shillito. And then last year, man, they just made the decision. Tough for them to not have football. And you got to feel for the guys that were going to be seniors last year. They missed out on football. And just as a school, it's such a hit, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, you can't replace that feeling and that Friday night lights, just the communities and school pride.
Right.
They did have a JV team last year, so at least they had the kids who were juniors and below could still play football. When you feel for those seniors last year,
how do you go 9-0? And you would think the school would be going crazy to go out and play football now.
Sure.
I know.
Yeah.
And they just in the junior and senior classes last year, they just didn't have the numbers that they felt that where they could safely put those kids out there. Now you have other schools in the area and around the state who have done it, who've said, well, we had a team, even though we had a young team, but each school's got to make its own decision on what's best for them, and that's the decision they made. So
sure.
I think OV's got to keep kids at home. They have a lot of kids that transfer.
Yeah, wind up at other schools.
And there's 3 schools that are locally that are getting them.
Yeah. Yeah, I always said that I think the school of choice, the 2 schools that come to mind, and you may or may not agree, that were hurt the most by school of choice was Muskegon Heights. Even though Heights still able year after year to field a basketball team, that's amazing. As many guys that have been, going to other schools. And I agree, Cal. I think Orchard View is the other one easily that has been hit by the schools of choice in maybe a negative way. Michael?
Yeah, that's a great point. But, I don't know how this, it'd be interesting to find out how the state monitors all that.
Right.
And what their thoughts are.
Talk to me from a coach's position, Mike, with, you didn't have football last year. I mean, you did have a JV team, so the guys are getting reps. But man, you're coming back a year off.
Younger.
You're coming into a different conference, different setup. I mean, what's your mindset as Fred Rademacher?
It's what's interesting when you say that is, again, because of how he runs his offense.
Wing T.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of formations.
Right.
Our terminology kind of explains everything.
Sure.
Are we strong enough? And are we playing technique sound football?
Yeah.
So those things come into play, and it's tough to play 2 tight end, with 6-inch splits between your linemen and try and pound that ball up inside the tackles when you don't have the personnel.
Sure.
I mean, you've got the quickness maybe, but you don't have the size and strength.
Yeah. Some of the kids who are you hearing on the team, Scott, this year to look for?
Stefan Oaks, he's a junior, good-looking athlete, multi-sport athlete. The captain of the all-name team in the West Michigan Conference, Choo Allen,
okay.
who plays on the line for them. Those are 2 of the ones.
He was derailed last year.
There's Colin Riley, I think, is another kid that they're looking at. Alex Teal, I don't know if it's Thiel or Teal. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, so I apologize if I butchered that. But yeah, so and again, not to jump too far ahead, but what really catches my eye is that schedule they've got.
Yeah. Yeah, start right out at Reed City. They're always tough. North Muskegon, then at Montague, and at Manistee. I mean,
and then Muskegon Catholic.
And then Muskegon Catholic.
And then Fremont, and then Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
And then Whitehall.
Aside from that, Mr. Lincoln, how'd you like the movie, right? Gosh, yeah, they definitely got their work.
They're going to run that wing T on defense.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to the Whitehall Vikings, another one of the tri-champions in last year's West Michigan Conference. Tony Sigmund's been there 10 years now, has done a great job, but as much talent as they have and as much impact as he and his coaching staff have with these kids, they've just been kind of snake bit. They're not a team that just has 1 or 2 injuries. They tend to have 2 or 3 major kids go down each and every year, and that's got to be troublesome, obviously.
Yeah, that happened a few years ago when they had quarterback and
Cal and I took out 3 of them in one game.
In that Oak Ridge game, right?
That was at the concession stand.
That's why Tony doesn't want us to come back.
they lost quarterback Andrew Durbin, then they lost Kyler Honore, who was a returning All-State defensive back and a key skill player. And but I think Tony was telling me that year that they lost more than 50% of their roster for more than 50% of the season. It was some outrageous stat line that he gave me. It was crazy.
What do you got, Cal?
When you look at Whitehall, you see they always have so much talent.
Yeah.
And it seems like somebody usually steps up during the season and smacks them in the mouth and they don't like it. Oak Ridge did it last year. Now, the big lineman, it was Joseph, popped the football up in the air, forced a fumble, picked it up, ran it in for a touchdown.
Right.
And then Oak Ridge took off. Whitehall mounts the comeback in the second half, but they were just too far behind. I'd like to see Whitehall be that team that we're going to be the ones that's going to smack you in the mouth.
Yeah.
Versus getting the other way around. They usually just fall to somebody, whether it's Oak Ridge or Montague. They need to run. They need to run the gamut here, run the table.
Right. Grayson Shepard's coming back.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
And with him playing inside linebacker, if they can get him playing downhill, in meeting plays, not at the line of scrimmage, but in the backfield a little bit.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, he's going to be a game changer. Yeah. Do you run at him? Do you run away from him? And he's coming off a pretty severe injury from last year also. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how he, and they've got another player by the name of Camden Rake. He had an older brother that played there a couple of years ago.
Connor Rake, I believe.
Yeah, big, six, the center on the basketball team.
Right.
Good multi-sport athlete. So we've got another Rake coming through that's a senior this year. Also, I think they've got one of the better defensive coordinators in the conference, with Keith Stratton.
Right.
His son's over on the other side of the ball playing quarterback, and I think he's one of the top 2 players in the conference, coming back this year. But his father is a heck of a defensive coordinator and a great football guy.
One guy you got to mention, too, is that quarterback, just a sophomore last year, and Kyle Stratton. And he's one of those guys that you saw develop game to game. And by the end of the year, he was like a senior almost. I mean, he really took over that team that became his team. And that's saying a lot for a first-year sophomore quarterback.
We did a game, and we were commenting that he grew up during the course of that game, from the beginning to the end, how his and one 48 minutes, how it changed.
Yeah,
I think he really earned the trust of his teammates as a young player, and I think that's huge going into his junior year, where he has that trust now going in. And then one other thing I'd like to mention about Whitehall is, they've always got the kids who look really good. Like just physical, that kind of stuff. I don't know if I've seen them look quite like they do this year. Now, does that mean anything? Not necessarily, because you still got to go out and perform, and you still have to be mentally tough. But, like, for instance, Grayson Shepard's benching 405 pounds. You got this Jamar Hill, who's a junior. I think he repped 225 like 30 times, something crazy. And he's like 15 years old, maybe something like that. They've got kids, and they're not the only ones. They got a bunch of kids that really get after it in the weight room.
They have 6 offensive linemen. Probably going to run 5, but 6 guys out there who have played minutes. Yeah. And that's a huge plus.
Yeah, Winton Napier's a guy who got hurt last year for them, but he's coming back to lead them up front.
Yeah. When you talk about Whitehall, though, you got to look at their first 2 games. You talked about it, Scott, but they're at Hudsonville Unity Christian. They're expected to be very, very good this year, and they're at Hastings. I mean, so as good as Whitehall is, boy, they get tested right out of the box.
They do, and then in week 3, Alpena, a bigger school.
Yeah.
They play them up at Ferris, and then of course their home opener, they're playing Montague in the Battle for the Bell.
Right.
Well, I think you've got some big shoes to fill with replacing Pruitt at running back.
Yeah.
Because he took a lot of pressure off Stratton.
Right.
With the RPOs, and I just, I got to see who pans out there.
Yeah. And you got to stay healthy through those first 3 games. They can't afford to be losing guys again.
Right. And Scott, before we move on, again, give us some names from this Whitehall team that we talked about a couple of them, but I always like the Nate Boley kid as well. I mean,
he's solid.
They got great wrestling tradition. Their kids are tough.
Boley's a big time playmaker. You've got Trandon Naylor and Camden Thompson kind of flanked out of receivers now.
Thompson, the basketball player.
Yeah, who's only a sophomore still, and he's about 6'4". Trandon Naylor's probably 6'2". They both can run like the wind. I mean, if Whitehall can spread the ball around, I just don't know what you stop, what you take away.
That's a great point.
Very balanced.
Yeah. Let's again send out a shout out to our sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage, Fountain Systems of Michigan, Durga Insurance, Chris Dykema, and Sarah Reel of Green Ridge Realty, and of course their friends as well at North Grove Brewers. Well, let's move on now to the Rivers portion of the West Michigan Conference, and we're going to start with the Hart Pirates. Joe Tanis in his second year. Mike, I'll start with you since you and Joe are pretty close.
Well, he celebrated a birthday yesterday.
All right.
So make sure everybody up in that area, be kind to Joe Tanis.
I know another guy who just celebrated a birthday too.
Yeah, I know what happened. What he got for a gift?
Happy birthday to you.
A bundt cake? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about something else?
A burnt cake.
But Scott, Hart started out last year. They were, we talked about those teams that the tongues were wagging a little bit. I think They got off to, I think, a
2-0
start, and they had that was two wins in a season was huge for Hart for an entire year for a long time.
Yeah, they beat Holton out of the gate in a matchup of what was then first year head. Not Tanis wasn't a first year head coach, but a new coach at Hart.
Right.
Taking on at the time, it was our guy over at Reese Puffer now, Alex Smith.
Oh, okay.
He was the coach there at Holton for the year. But anyhow, They got a nice win there. Then they got a really nice win at home against Kent City, which, Kent City's kind of been the team to beat over in the CSAA Silver in recent years. But then they hit the teeth of their schedule. 5 straight losses. Montague, North Muskegon, Oak Ridge, Ravana, and Whitehall. I mean, how do you like that juggernaut?
Ouch.
Yeah, that's running them down. Cal?
That's a reality.
Yeah.
Back to reality.
A reality check.
Yeah, great to see what Joe Tanis can do here in his second year. 4 wins last year. Obviously has things headed the right way and a little bit easier schedule than what he's had in the past.
And we know about every coach is going to tell you and say the right things. It's not about who we don't have, but it's about what we have. But when you're a school the size of Hart, not the biggest school in the world, and you get 2 school class athletes that have decided that they're going to pay attention, maybe a little bit more, focus in other sports. I mean, that's a significant thing to overcome.
Just what's going to help Hart and Shelby, Hesperia, the makeup of the conference itself is going to lend to kids staying healthier because you're not playing teams that are ranked in the top 5, every week, every other week. And, you lose a lot of kids to injuries.
Sure. And
so now they're going to be competitive in that conference. Teams are going to be competitive every game.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, which means their kids are going to, they're not going to get as banged up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not playing as hard, but I'm just saying physically they're going up against competition they match up with.
The names that Cal was alluding to, that Cal, not Cal, John.
Yeah.
I do know you guys. It was nice knowing you.
Yeah, we're kind of mix and match. Yeah.
So
they fell for it.
I know. John, let's get this straight. Anyhow, the guys that John was alluding to earlier about who opted not to play, Kellen Kimes, track standout, discus state champ, runner-up in shot put, 3rd nationally in the hammer throw. He's about 6'6", 220 plus now. And then Parker Hovey.
Oh, why is he not playing?
He wants to focus on track. He wants to get a D1 track scholarship. That's what I was told. I haven't talked to him or his dad about this, but I was told that's the direction he wanted to go. He wanted to focus on that.
Get out there with your classmates and friends and play.
And then Parker Hovey's the other one. He's a basketball prospect. He wants to play college basketball. He's about probably somewhere in the 6'4", 6'5" range, 200 plus pounds. And when you got kids like that at a school the size of Hart, it does hurt when you can't get them to come out for football.
Sure.
You notice their screen went black?
It's fine.
Okay.
I don't know how to get back into it, so otherwise I would have.
Okay.
We've never looked so good.
Yeah. We'll be taping this again tomorrow.
We might need to send an SOS to Billy to have him come in here.
Some of the kids coming back for Hart this year, some of the key players, Scott?
Yes, you have. Zane Thomas is one of them. Trace Tate's a big one. Those 2 are both wrestling standouts, and how much we've talked about this with Whitehall and other schools about how much that correlation is and how much that helps from wrestling to football and then vice versa. Jose Luis Andeverde, he's a big playmaker for them. So those are some of the names that they're really leaning on. Will Miller, I think, is another kid up front that they're relying on.
Sure. And they're going to start their season at home against Fremont. They go to White Cloud, Shelby, and then Muskegon Heights. So you look at their strength of schedule there, they got an opportunity to make some noise in their first 4 games.
Yeah, they could be 3-1, 4-0.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to the Hesperia Panthers. New coach, a young guy. Talk to us about that a little bit, if you would, Scott.
Yep, Tyler Failer, 2013 Fruitport alumnus, so he's not that far removed from high school, 27 years old. He had been an assistant at Muskegon Heights, and the other notable about him is that he's been the backup quarterback for the West Michigan Ironmen, the arena football team, which Mike knows a little bit about those guys.
Yeah, he did a good job. I mean, he's a lot of fun to talk to, understands the game of football, good head on his shoulders. Chad Payne up there as the principal, I think he made a great hire. I hope he's in the building.
He was hired late, though. He was hired in July.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. They haven't had, they had a great pass back in the old Newaygo County Athletic Association with our old friend, the late Dan Homan. Mm-hmm. And they really have, I know they had, I think, 1 year since then where they made some noise. But other than that, it's been kind of slim pickings for the Hesperia Panthers. So you certainly hope that they can get things back going again.
Yeah, really no consistency in the coaching staff there.
Right.
Where Oak Ridge was 44 years.
Sure.
2 coaches, and since Holman, they've had 44 coaches or something like that.
Right. Some of the players that we're hearing about, Scott?
Brock Bowles, junior tight end linebacker, Armando, I don't know if you pronounce it Escayo.
Right.
It's been a while since I've taken my Spanish in high school.
Spanish.
Senior quarterback, cornerback. Blake Hernandez is a junior center defensive tackle. Those are kind of 3 of their key returnees coming back for them.
Start out their season at home against Manton, then they're home against St. Louis, at White Cloud, and then North Muskegon are the Hesperia Panthers. Move on to one of their rivals. We talk about rivals trying to define themselves in this new conference, and Holton and Hesperia have been rivals for a long time, and they got a new coach in Tommy Moore. And boy, it was like fingers crossed. It wasn't too awful long ago. They were wondering if they were going to have a varsity football team this year.
No, that's right. And in fact, it was like their first full week of practice, official week of practice that Thursday when he huddled the guys up, and I was out there, and he announced that officially they were going to be able to have a varsity football team with I think 23 players total in the program, 9 through 12, and they weren't going to have a JV. They're not having a JV, but they're just in a community like Holden, in a lot of communities, to have the Friday night lights is something special as long as you know that the kids are ready for that challenge, and because of the physicality of varsity football, it's just different.
Right, exactly. And kudos to Mike, to Holton, and the fact that they did round up enough kids to have a program. It's a small area to draw from. So good for those kids to make the sacrifices.
Well, again, you just got to keep them healthy now.
Yeah.
There's no depth chart.
Yeah. No,
that was my comment. You're gonna have to really stay healthy.
You're gonna use a lot of tape.
Yeah, there you go.
So one of the kids that kind of jumped out at me at media day and at practice is a junior, Hunter Zhang. I think he's about 6'4", 215, and Tommy Moore was telling me he's a kid that they have to dial back and practice a little bit. He's like, hey, that's your teammate. He wants to rip their heads off because he's kids wants to get after it. But you've got Tegan Bain, and I'm not sure. I don't know if that's the superintendent's son or not. Okay. Chase Albright's another kid that's back. Tanner Steffens is a junior offensive defensive lineman. And Gavin Wheeler's a kid who looks like he's going to kind of take over at quarterback for them as a junior. But Tommy Moore did a great job at Ravana as defensive coordinator. He's a Air Force veteran. Right. He had 8 years active duty and Indiana native, but came up here, and he's got that good mix of intensity, but yet knows how to have fun too.
And he's been on a number of coaching staffs, so he has a familiarity with the area teams. And they're going to open up their season. Going to be our game of the week. It looks like Manistee at Manistee, and then they got Perry, Ravana, and then Mason County Central. Let's move on to the Mason County Central Spartans and Coach Scott Briggs, 26 years, and last year they were the ones that played the hybrid schedule. Again, lack of numbers.
Yeah, and Scott Briggs, he's been there. 26 years, a long time, and I don't know anyone I'm trying to think of the coaches in the area who even approached that at this time. Can you guys think of who the longest serving coach is in our general coverage area?
It might be Carey.
I would say Carey.
Yeah,
no, not as head coach though. Scott Briggs is 26 years. Carey's 12 years.
Yeah. I was trying to think of, I don't know if we've had a 26-year. You have to go back.
Not now.
Right.
Not currently.
Right.
Sugars before that was 32.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see those kind of numbers.
You don't see that anymore, do you?
No, exactly.
How long's Koziak been at?
At least 10.
Yeah. Somewhere around there in Shane's.
12.
Yeah.
All right.
About the same.
How long was Holman at Muskegon Catholic? Not
Holmes.
Forever.
Oh, yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
30 years.
He was
there a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you to your point, you don't see that very much anymore. As far as some of the kids that we're going to be seeing on that team, you think?
Yeah, so they got a handful of returnees back from a team that went 2-3 last year. They did. Now they played that hybrid JV varsity schedule, so they weren't technically part of the West Michigan Conference in terms of their schedule last year. Sure. played 5 games, 2-3. You got some kids like Max Nichols, Riley McLeod, Peyton Mers, Colton Meyer back. But a newcomer to watch, which is notable to me, a couple of them really are Will Shy and Jaden Perrone, or Perrone, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but they were both really good basketball players. I know that Will Shy is now a 3-sport athlete. He was really good in basketball, all-state in baseball.
Right.
So when you can get kids like that out in a school the size like that can only help you.
And the beautiful Sarah Houston.
Yeah, there you go. Their scheduled first 4 games, they're home against Frankfurt, they're home against Manistee, then on the road against North Muskegon and at Holton. Speaking of North Muskegon, Coach Larry Witham in his 7th season now, and they're one of the teams that when we mentioned this realignment in the Lakes Conference, we thought, hey, this is going to be good for them.
Oh yeah, most certainly. They don't back down from people in terms of they've never ducked in scheduling and never ducked the big schools and anything, and they always want to do that. And they always have a nice set of athletes. It seems like the question about them is up front.
Yeah.
Up front, do they have enough to kind of hang with the big boys in the league? And
they start with a really nice team, and then by week 3, it's just Coach Witham and an assistant coach on the bench. Who's going to go in?
And a trainer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, the trainer's busy.
Yeah.
Taking care of the hurt players.
Yeah, trainers, the MVP every year.
Yeah.
But you're right, Scott. They'll come out and hit you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's week 5 or week 6 and they're all banged up and they're playing Oak Ridge or Whitehall, it's going to be a game.
They do.
They're going to hit you.
Like there was a year, I don't remember what year. There was a year I think that Oak Ridge just clobbered North Muskegon in the regular season, and they met in the playoffs, and North Muskegon got them.
Sure.
So they don't back down.
Right.
That was 04.
Yeah.
60. They got them. Oak Ridge got them 61-6.
Mine like a steel trap.
And then North Muskegon went to Oak Ridge, got them 21-14.
That's great because
I did that game. Because follow me here a second. Oak Ridge got inside the 25 or 7 times and never punched it in.
Wow.
And then, so North Muskegon wins. They win week 2. They win week 3.
Right.
Here we go. Remember?
Yeah.
Swan Valley.
It's
And
appropriately known name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, Young as a sophomore, started last year as a 9th grade quarterback.
Yeah.
He was a 3-sport, varsity player in those 3 sports. A lot of upside on this young man. They got to keep him on the field, and they got to keep him healthy.
Yeah, he and Belmonte both went out in the same game last. We covered that one as well. Cal and I brought down the best. That's for sure.
No, bigger. Those. And Belmonte, he's a kid. I don't know if you've seen that kid, but his thighs are just.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid gets after it in the weight room, and actually, I've been kind of following this on social media throughout their summer. They have got like a North Muskegon strength and conditioning site. But they've got a number of kids now that are in like the 1,000-pound club, and I think James Young's one of them. And he's probably 6'1", 6'2", maybe about 175, 180 pounds. But he's getting after it. And he's one of the top quarterbacks in the area to watch, I think, this year.
John and I, we're close to the 1,000-pound club.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the names we mentioned, 2 of them, Scott and Denny Belmonte and James Young. Some other names to look out for.
Sam Gallo will be their leader up front. Senior, probably about 6'2", 230-ish, somewhere around that range. But he's offensive line, defensive end. He's college prospect as well. Ben Myers, another multi-sport athlete. He's a 3-sport kid. Baseball's, I would say, is number 1 love, as a all-state catcher. Great kid, great athlete. Kyle Huff, a senior tight end linebacker. Eli Rudiso, who's come back from 2 back fractures twice, who's playing now again.
Wow.
Carson Moe.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Love of the game, I guess. Being with his friends, I guess.
He'd be a guy that'd be interesting to have on the show and talk to him about, coming back from that kind of an injury.
Right.
Yeah, Brandon Ripstra. Everyone knows the Ripstra name, North Muskegon. With the coaching connections and stuff there. So and there's more beyond that.
Right. You look at the first week, they got a dandy game with Muskegon Catholic that's going to be played over at Hackley as part of a doubleheader at 4 p.m. But then you look at the next few games. They're at Orchard View. They host Mason County Central. They're at Hesperia Hart. I mean, they got an opportunity to start out with a bang.
Yeah, I think they do. That Muskegon Catholic North Muskegon game should be really fun, and being on the big stage,
right?
At Hackley Stadium, which they redid that beautiful place now. It's historic as it was, and now they just really a couple years ago, really put the finishing touches on that. Looks great.
Right. Ravana Bulldogs, coached by Justin Eagle, his third season now over in Ravana. And Scott, you're a Ravana boy, so we'll defer to you on this one a little bit.
Yeah, so Justin Eagle, when he got the job, I did a story on him, and he had one of the best, I think, single game performances I've seen, especially from an opposing player on that field. It was 94. Ravana won the title that year, but they beat Muskegon Catholic. It was like 21-13 or whatever. Eagle was like a safety, and that kid was all over the place. Not a kid anymore, but really nice guy, kind of mild-mannered, but really easy, nice to talk to.
Sure.
Was an assistant at Muskegon for a number of years, and he's just trying to kind of put his stamp, on the program there. So,
your thoughts, Michael?
Oh, I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Justin Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay. I like him as a person. I like him as a coach. And again, I think Ravana is it's a football community.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to get better the more he coaches. He learned from one of the better ones under Shane Fairfield, and he was around a lot of great coaches while he was there at Muskegon. And I just think as Justin gets older, gets more experience, he's just going to get better and better. And I know that the middle school and even lower, a little bit lower, are loaded with athletes.
Sure.
No, being from there, but just covering the West Michigan Conference, they've got, I think they should be strong in the skill positions. As Cal said earlier, they've got speed.
Yeah.
The question is, are they going to give them enough time to, and maybe open some creases and stuff for them? But they, Hunter Hogan is a senior quarterback, one of the top overall athletes in the league, in my opinion. Drew Mabrito, good-looking athlete as a junior. Landon Gorbek, I think, is their lone returnee up front as a senior. You got the Clay Shulo, who looks like a man as a junior. And then Carter Shulo, who's got a nice frame. He's about 6'4", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Hunter Hogan, I heard, tied Benny Clark's 200 record.
He did it. North Muskegon, it was like a 21-something.
So that tells you how fast he is.
But he I don't know if he's playing soccer this year, too. Last year he played football and soccer. He played basketball. He was a pass defense lead basketball. That's what he was really good at.
Right.
And they made a nice run to the regional finals last year in basketball. And then he did track and baseball. So, that's 5 sports that he did last year.
And one hurdle I think I see that they have this year is the fact that the offense that Coach Eagle is running at Ravana right now was implemented by Brent White. Okay.
Right.
And now Brent turned in his resignation and is down at Kalamazoo College. So hopefully that offense is set enough and the coaches understand it.
Sure.
And their offensive line, I think, is their weakness as of today. Unless they gel, they can quickly gel.
Right.
And become a strength. They could be a powerhouse. And Division 7, correct?
Yeah. Shelby Tigers, coached by longtime assistant Phil Fortier. Talk about a guy that's dedicated to a program. This is his second season as head coach, and 0-9 last year, 0-6. He has certainly seen the kind of the best of times and the worst of times. When back a few years ago, when they made the run all the way up north to the the quarterfinals, semifinals, something like that, and then certainly the struggles. Scott, what do you have to say?
No, they had they had back-to-back semifinal teams and teams that were right at the top there with Oak Ridge and the likes of those top teams in the league. So it's not real far removed from that, but they've had some lean years since then. And
they really have.
And Phil, I think this has been said about him before, but I think he just wants to give back and have and kind of make football fun for the kids. And it's not fun to lose, but at the same time, they're doing what they can to try to drum up some interest. They got some kids that had played soccer before that are going to play football. One of them included is Bishop Lee, who was a good goalie for them. He decided to play football this year. He's going to be, I think, a receiver, defensive back, and he's a kind of a versatile basketball player too. But getting kids like that out, can only help.
Sure. And Phil really well, Mike. Obviously, he's a stability of that program.
Absolutely. I tell you what, he's a pillar in the community, and he cares about it. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe this Shelby team will go 8-1. Okay. And I know some of the kids playing, and not many people in this conference are aware of it. He has developed a group of solid kids here.
Okay. And he's going to say, thank you very much, Mike, for putting that on me, 8-1.
Oh, no, I'll tell you what. When they come out of the gate after the first 3 weeks,
right.
I'll tell you what, people are going to go, oh, my goodness, this is a good football team here. And again, Shelby is, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with.
Right. So there you go. And Cal, your thoughts?
8-1.
8-1.
Yeah, that man, the Coach of the Year award.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, it's a special, it's just like when Lorenzo had that team, 15 years ago back there? Every once in a while, you get a group of kids that come through. It's a special group. This is a special group.
Yeah.
This is a special
they won
group.
the West Michigan Conference.
Yeah.
It was 2013 is when they won it.
Yeah.
So, not that far removed now.
No, but this is just, he has got some kids that when they step on that field, people are going to go, where did these kids come from?
I tell you what, too, at Media Day, I don't know if there was a team that had more fun than they did there.
That's good.
They were doing
chemistry.
We were doing different things, different games, taking photos and videos and that kind of stuff, but they were we're doing some different TikToks, which I don't know if you guys know what TikTok is or not.
It's a clock.
I barely do.
It freshens your breath.
I think I need to add one of those right now. Take one of those right now, actually, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
But
hey, they open up at home against White Cloud. Then they host Ludington. Then they're on the road to Hart and Ravana in weeks 4. Let's take a look at what we think is going to happen here in the West Michigan Conference. We'll start with the Lakes Conference. Scott?
I've got to go with Whitehall.
Okay.
I know, a lot of people are like, well, they're always picked to win, and maybe they don't win the league all the time, but
right.
I like the look of them this year. I think you definitely got the pieces, definitely got the experience from last year, and I just like the looks of that team this year.
Sure. Mike?
Three-way tie. Montague, Oak Ridge, Whitehall.
All right, got it here. How about you, Cal?
I like your wisdom. I'm going to change it a little bit. Two-way tie. Not sure who's Ludington's probably going to be in that one. Not sure who's going to pick him off. Quickly, what you were talking about, largest school. Ludington at 687 students. Fremont 662. Whitehall 627. Orchard View 604.
Mm-hmm.
4 that are over 600.
You guys gave me food for thought with Ludington. Again, we haven't traditionally covered them, so I didn't have them in the mix. But I'm starting to wonder about that now. But I'm still going to go with Whitehall. I think Montague's going to be in there, but I think you guys have some great points. Last year we called it the go figure year, and that there's going to be a game or two out there that's a team that was favored to win is just going to lay an egg for whatever reason. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting.
Injuries
year.
always play a big.
Oh, you bet they do. Yeah. How about the Rivers Conference, the little conference? Do you think?
I like North Muskegon. I think Ravana will probably be the closest competition. I know a lot of you guys are kind of maybe changing my mind a little bit on Shelby. We'll see. They could be a dark horse, but I got to go with North Muskegon.
Well, Mike, you planted a seed here with Shelby, so you've really threw a monkey in the wrench here.
4 tiers fighters.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Number 1.
All right.
I like it, but not enough.
Oh, I was going to say.
Ravana and then North Muskegon. I'm going to take the Bulldogs.
All right.
Take the sleepers.
They've got the proven quarterback.
And I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to go North Muskegon and Ravana.
Tell you what, in 9 weeks, we'll see who comes out on top.
And maybe none of us.
Yeah.
And the winner gets their job back.
All right. Hey, that's going to do it for us. Again, I want to thank our sponsors and thank you guys. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to a great year.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate all you do.